Welcome to VoiceBootcamp, a global name in unified communication. Hello, my name is Faisal Khan, Cisco collaboration instructor at VoiceBootcamp. In this video, we're going to talk about call start and call end action. VXML server can be configured to run a specific code when a call has received, but before the call flow has been started or visited. The call start action can be implemented to either using Java API or via XML or XML API. Call start action is a good way to create things like session data that is to be used by the rest of the application. You can also take certain actions like opening a database or some other common task that may be required throughout the application. There are two situations where session data may already exist within the call, so therefore you may not need to create that. For example, if the voice browser passed the additional argument to the VXML server when call was first received through the applications. And second scenario where you call from one application to you are calling another application, and you can pass various session data or element data from the calling application to the next one. So in that scenario, you may already have enough session data to work with your applications. But there are situations where you may need to create certain session data before even the VXML script is started. Now the Java API, when we use call start action, which is built into Java by implementing a class known as start call interface. It contains a single method called onStart, which allows you to execute the call start class. Now this method receives a single argument, an instance of call start API. This class belongs to session API, as we spoke about session API in the previous video, for example. And it is used to access and modify session information such as session data and many other session informations from the session API. Now, this method does not have a return value. It is expected that if there is an unrecoverable error, then this class will throw an audio exceptions. Now, the call start action is also given the ability to change the voice browser and any root document or parameters, VXML parameters that you may need to change as your VXML application start. These changes apply to current call only and does not affect any other calls. Now, by allowing the voice browser to change, the application can be deployed in a multiple voice browser at once by simply using DNIS information to check the outputted voice XML to appropriate browser. Changing the root document settings such as the properties, the language, allows the call start action to control how the application will appear to the caller using the information it knows only at the call time. Now these changes can only be made by the call start action because it runs before the VXML server and has returned the first VXML page. Therefore, can make changes that affect the outputted voice XML. Aside from these settings, call start action can also change the maintainer, default audio path, or any other component. Now, if you take a look at a very simple Java class right here, I've created a class called VBC onStart, and it is based on the class called start call interface. Now, in order for you to use that class, you must import the necessary library, and there you will see there's only one method called onStartExecution, and here you put all your code. Now, this is an example of a code that basically set the session data to, let's say, day of the week to Monday. So in this call onStart, I'm saying string day of the week equal Monday, and then I'm setting the value call start API dot set session data. Set means set the value, day of the week, which is the name of the variable, and the day of the week, which is your value. So the quotation is the name of the variable, and this is basically the variable that we define here. Then throughout your application, you can say if session data equal day of the week is equal to this, do something with your script. So that's basically the most simplest form of an example. Of course, you can do a lot more to that. You can create 10 pages of Java code to execute before your VXML call start execute. Then you have the call end action. VXML server can be configured to run code that when the call has ended. Now this is when the VXML portion has been done. Your call flow is completed. Unlike the call start action, the call end action can occur at any time during the call. There are several situations where a call can be triggered a call end action. For example, caller hangs up normally, or application hangs up on the caller. This may include an error that was caught by the system. Or maybe the audio file didn't exist for some reason, the application ended. A blind telephony transfer takes place that could also end up the call. Application performs a transfer to another voice applications. Therefore, your current application will complete the call and VXML part, and then call and action will take place. VXML server could time out its sessions. Usually there is a certain timer where it may have to execute your code. If not, then it might time out. Or a session is invalidated by a custom element. A standard and configurable element has the ability to invalidate a session for a situation where some process ends the call that would not prompt a VXML server to be notified. In that scenario, the call and start action will take place. The call and action can be implemented using either Java or XML API. Now, unlike the call start action, where call and action does not have an option to perform in the background. The reason is that your VXML is already ended before your call and action starts. Whereas call start action could run in the background while your VXML server script executes. So, like the call start action, the call end action will modify the session data, such as creating sessions or changing the audio settings or root parameters. Usually, it wouldn't make sense for you to do that because your VXML application has already been completed. But you could do things like closing a database, for example, setting up a file, or maybe saving a file, or set up a CDR records. In a scenario like that, you could use call and actions where you can set certain settings. Now, in the call and actions, you'll see that there is a Java class right here with the end call interface. That is your call and class action class. And it has only one method right there called on and call, which is call and API, part of your session API. And you put your code, whatever the code is. An example code would be right here, where it will basically save a particular file, number of calls. This is based on one of the Cisco examples. It allows you to, after the call finish, to modify a text file, set some values like number of calls, and then of course if there is an error, it will log some sort of errors in your log file. So these two functionality can be used to before your VXML application executes or after your VXML applications end. All right, so in the subsequent video, I will show you how this is being used. So let's go take a look at a very simple example. All right, so I'm going to show you how to create a very basic Java class, which will simply return a value, day of the week equal to Monday, and then using as a session data. And then when the VXML application starts, it's going to pick up that session data and just simply announce an audio file. Okay. So let's go ahead. We're going to start with a new project. I'm going to call this on call start action. Now the project should have some basic parameters. So we're going to go to the audio and make sure our audio app is there. Okay. For now, we're just going to do that. Now, this is going to have a very simple Java class. So I'm going to create my first Java class. So what we're going to do, we're going to create a new project, but not a Call Studio project. You're going to select the project and you're going to select Java project. Now, the Java project file name has to be the same as your VXML Call Studio script name. So we're going to say call start action _ Java. The underscore is required for the Java project to work. Now, again, this is not a project that you're going to deploy. This is just simply an area where you're going to configure your class Java code and then create a class and then copy the class into your Call Studio project. We're going to use the GRE version 7.7 and click OK. So click finish. And here you'll see that there's two folders created, bin and source. And then of course you have your class. Now I have created a very basic Java class. Let me pull. So I'm going to create a new Java class. So this time you're gonna select the source and you're gonna click on other. So you can create many different projects, but we're gonna create a class. So this is very important, the class name. So we're gonna say VBC call start action. Okay, so VBC call start action. That's the name of the class. Okay. Now this is a very simple that you're seeing the basic class. So we're going to delete that and we're going to paste the config that I have. Now, as you notice right here, this name has to match your file name. Okay. So right now you look at VBC call start action. So I'm going to say action class. Now there are some error messages saying, these are the libraries that I'm going to import, but there are some error messages and I'll come back to you right now shortly. This is my main class that's going to implement the Java class called start call interface. These are some comment. You can get rid of that if you want to. And then I have my one method called on start. That's the method that is expected by the application. And it's going to have a call start API, which is based on the session API command. In here, what I'm doing, just a very simple thing. I'm setting a session data. So I'm saying call start API, which is coming from right here, the data type. Set session data, that is adding value a session, creating a session data variable. It's called day of the week, and then value is going to be Monday. Okay, you can change that value to variables and whatever other parameters you want. And then in the print log, I'm going to say the script created by Faisal, for example. This is going to store the information into your activity logs, whereas this is going to be part of your session data variable. Then in my Call Studio script, I can use that day of the week to make a decisions. If today is this, place this audio file, otherwise play something else. All right, so let's go ahead and fix this error. You're seeing if you highlight this, it'll tell you that it cannot resolve that. That is because the external libraries are not included. So in your Java program, on the left-hand side, you're going to go to the properties, and in the Java build path, we're going to import additional jar files. So click on add external jar files. Now these are something you can download, get it from your Cisco CVP server. So I'm going to copy that. And what's the most important one is framework. So make sure the framework is available in all your applications. Okay, so I'm going to copy all of them for now. And when you copy them, click OK. You see most of them are gone. There was an error, little syntax. We don't need that. I'm going to delete that as well. This is a very simple script, okay, Java class. Now, as you create this class, you'll notice under bin folder, it creates a class for you. This is the source. This is the actual class. Okay. So save that. And we're going to copy this class into our studio now. So we're going to right click here. I'm going to say copy. Then you go to your application, deploy Java application class. Underneath that, we're going to paste it. Okay. So it should be there right now. Now, obviously, you need to copy this name. Go to your properties of your Call Studio. Under endpoint settings, where it says on start, we're going to say use a class. And this is going to be the class name. Okay, and again, it has to match. So please click OK. So now I have to start developing my application based on your normal element. So you're gonna start with this. Now here you'll see that there is nowhere I have created session data yet. Okay. After it's going to start the script, I'm going to make a decision using the decision element. I'm going to decide, I'm going to check the value of my day of the week. So remember that if you look at the class, I'm looking for, this is the variable. I'm going to copy that. And here, I'm going to go to the editor and I'm going to select this argument expression. So if it is true, I'm going to play welcome greeting. And if it is false, play zip code prompt greeting. Just for kind of, I don't have a text-to-speech server on this particular PC. So therefore, I'm just going to play an audio file. So what we're looking for is session data, okay? You select session data, and then we're going to put that command, day of the week. Remember that's coming from that Java class. If it is equal to constant string, meaning if it is equal to Monday, and it's constant because exact value. So, I mean, you can play with variables and element data, whatever you want, but right now keep it simple. So we're saying if the session data that is not created anywhere in my application, if that value is this, then we're going, oops, there's something, error. Okay, let's see. Okay. XML error parsing representing the rules, error equal none. Sorry, my apology. I was not supposed to put the quotation. Okay, so we're gonna say play welcome prompt, play zip code prompt. Okay, and in the session data, sorry, day of the week, constant string, just supposed to put Monday, not the quotation. I was putting the quotation. That was giving me an error. All right, so the editor basically is doing a comparison of the value. If it is going to be Monday, based on the value coming from the Java class, it's going to play a welcome greeting, otherwise play a zip code prompt. Now, to to show you if it's working or not, so what we're going to do, we're going to play two audio file. We're going to call this welcome, and this one is going to be zip code. Play welcome prompt right here if it is true, otherwise play zip code if it is false. In the welcome, we're going to simply initiate the audio file, welcome.web, which is part of my audio path. And for this one, I will select zip code prompt.web. Okay. Obviously, you need to end the script. We're going to use the dialog. Okay. Return 0, not going to use it. My application is ready. I am now ready to deploy my call start application. So validate, everything looks good, deploy. Now you got to make sure that if you do deploy the call start, the Java class is part of your application under the deploy folder. Now in my call start action, I need to deploy that in the VXML and then modify my ICM script to point to this call. So script name, in my ICM script, we'll call this on start call. All right. So what we're expecting, if we're going to call right now, it is supposed to execute the Java class before the VXML page start, before this call studio part gets started. What am I? Right, before this application start. It's going to set a value for my day of the week variable, session data variable, which is not created anywhere in my call studio call flow, as you can see. Here, if you look at it, nowhere here I have my data, session data, all empty. See, all empty. Okay, but it is coming from, it should be coming from the Java class. So to make it work, we're going to dial and test it. So we're going to dial, and what we're supposed to hear for now should be Monday.
Thank you for calling Cisco System.
Thank you for calling Cisco System, which is the welcome greeting, right? Because I'm saying if the value of that variable is Monday, play the welcome greeting. Now, to kind of like to make sure it is working, what we're going to do, we're going to go to our Java class, the source, and we're going to manually change it to something else. Let's say Monday, we misspelled it. Okay. So every time you save the Java class, you're going to copy that class again, and you're going to paste it right in the application folder, and then redeploy your application. And you know the drill. Every time you redeploy, you need to update your applications. Sorry. All right, let's test it. Redial. This time we're not going to hear a welcome greeting.
Please enter your 5-digit zip code.
Please enter your 5-digit zip code. So this is a very simple way to create your Java class and then have that class available to your call studio script. It's like that, you will create one for on class calls end action, meaning as the call your VXML application end or hang up for some reason, you may want to close your database, you may want to close your first certain files, maybe you want to create a logs or stuff like that. Now, I want to show you one thing before we end up finish. We did have a second one called script created by Faisal. Where is that happening? So if I go to my call studio, if I go to my activity logs, I should see where it says that in a custom, the script created by Faisal. Okay. Now you notice nowhere here my session data shows as Monday. Nowhere. Okay, because it is a day of the week is not anywhere here because it is coming from the Java class that we created. But the log, sometimes you may want to log it because you want to keep a record of something. Maybe you want to use it for troubleshooting. That could be a good example, for example. All right, so that's pretty much it. Shows you how to create a very basic Java class in Call Studio and then how to deploy that and test it. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next video.